Hello, What Culture? My name is Simon Miller. I want to say thank you from the bottom of my heart, the thing that keeps me alive as well as my brain, for tuning in to this very special edition of Ups and Downs. Now, I'm sure you watch it when we do it weekly for Raw, SmackDown, and wrestling pay-per-views, and there have been the odd occasion where we've done it for wrestlers' careers, and we're kind of going to do that again today, but we're going to switch it up like we always do. I'm a boxer now, and we're going to do it for the money man, Vince McMahon's son that came out of his penis. That's not how biology works. I am, of course, talking about Shane McMahon. Now, in many ways, he's had a very divisive career because some people really like the young McMahon, and some people think he should never have been a wrestler to begin with. So there's only one way to figure it out. There's only one way to decide whether Shane McMahon had a glorious path through the world of wrestling. Let's up those downs. I know that Shane McMahon appeared in a few guises before he had a proper role. For example, I think the first time we actually saw him was as one of the background faces as WWE negotiated their 1998 Mike Tyson deal. But one of the first things I remember him doing consistently was being a commentator on Sunday Night Heat. And when we're talking about that, it's got to get it down. To be fair to McMahon, you couldn't fault his enthusiasm, although that's not actually true, because that's exactly where all the criticism came from. It was like giving a bunch of sweets to a kid, allowing that kid to have a massive sugar rush, and then putting him on TV. Shane went absolutely ballistic. And yeah, it seems a little unfair to criticize Shane here, because he didn't have the experience. He was literally just put on TV and told, you go and commentate on all the matches. But it is ups and downs. I have to look through his career and give things ups or downs. That's why it gets a down. He just wasn't very good as a colour commentator. That soon transitioned into a character role though, and at that, he was alright at it. Getting up. Coming to odds with his dad initially, who even demoted him to a lowly referee after he found out that Shane had gone behind his back and given Stone Cold Steve Austin a contract. It didn't take long before the McMahons came together, because yes, Shane turned on Stone Cold Steve Austin at the Survivor Series in 1998. That story is still brilliant when you watch it today, and a huge part of that swerve was McMahon Jr. He was a referee, as we said at the time, and as he slid into the ring to officiate between Stone Cold and Mankind, he gave it the old 1, he gave it the old 2, and then he looked Austin dead in the eyes, and he flipped him off. See, I've censored myself there, and it was revealed, oh no, Vince and his boy, they in cahoots. This was the forming of the corporation, and sure, you could argue, did we really need Shane in a group like that? But I would say that we did. Seeing father and son in the ring was just fun if nothing else, and it also proved that Shane had the chops to be an actual in-ring kind of a guy, or at least a character. I mean, he was still rough around the edges, but he'd proven his point. It was never just gonna stay like this though, given that Shane McMahon was the son of Vince McMahon, and eventually I think we all knew he was gonna transition into the ring and become a real wrestler. And that did happen as he had a feud against X-Pac, and you know what? It's getting up. And I get there's still issues today that were also prevalent back here, as the internet will let you know, on a day-to-day basis. And yeah, it was mostly Sean Waltman carrying all of this, but it takes two to tango, and Shane McMahon turned up with his dancing shoes on. Their match at WrestleMania had plenty of bells and whistles, but it was far better than most expected, and there was a load of fun in there. I mean, Triple H turned on D-Generation X, and we had the Mean Street Posse interfering too. And let me tell you this, anything with the Mean Street Posse gets an up, hence why this gets an up. I love the Mean Street Posse. They were fantastic. In short then, it worked, and it was all for the European Championship as well. Everybody forgets about that now, mostly because the European Championship was taken and stomped into the ground. I like this. This ticked on for a little while before, of course, we got Vince McMahon versus Shane McMahon, and well, down. Within this period, not only was the Union forced upon us, but also we had a faux Vince McMahon face turn that eventually resulted in the corporate ministry revealing their higher power as Vince McMahon. And go and read everything attached to that. Now, none of it makes sense. Like, it's actual gibberish. The story arc, full of plot holes. I mean, the meme that came out the other side is gold. I love the whole, it was me, Austin, it was me all along, after he took his hood off. But this was all about Vince McMahon, within the narrative that we were told, terrorizing his own daughter, Stephanie, just so that he could get back at Steve Austin, while at the time, he was also helping. It also marginalised Shane just a little bit as he faded into the background, but eventually we got to the King of the Ring 1999, where Dad and his boy took on Stone Cold Steve Austin, and whoever won, whoever climbed the ladder and grabbed the briefcase, would become the 100% owner of the WWE. And you want to know what happened there? Of course you do, that's why you're watching. The briefcase, just as Stone Cold was about to grab it, magically floated off into the air, and today, almost 20 years later, we still don't know what happened. So I'm gonna say it was the genie from Aladdin. It was a wish. Vince McMahon found the lamp, he rubbed it, whoop, genie came out and he said, my wish is for you to screw Stone Cold Steve Austin. And he did. So as an era of time, there's just too much dumb stuff to look back on it with glee, other than the fact that the Corporate Ministry theme tune was absolutely badass. That was fire, that was dope, so there it is, one highlight. Another down too, because after this, Shane transitioned into the disapproving brother, because he didn't like the relationship between Stephanie, his sister, and Test. My word, down. It was a pretty standard story for pro wrestling, but the slap in the face came when WWE booked a love her or leave her match. Just imagine that for a second. Imagine that. Would you like to sign up for this stipulation, sir? Oh, what is the stipulation? Well, if you win, you can stay with your girlfriend, and if you lose, well, you have to leave her. Sure, give me that deal. I mean, why wouldn't I? That happened at SummerSlam too, don't forget, until, yeah, we moved into the McMahon-Helmsley era, and we all know about that. Shane took some time off, and when he came back at No Way Out 2001, he was aligning himself with the Big Show, who was taking on The Rock. That led to the WrestleMania 2000 main event, which was a McMahon in every corner, and as we know that's a down, it remains one of the worst closers in WrestleMania history. Shane and Big Show then started to hate each other, which culminated in a match at Judgment Day 2000, which Shane won after a lot of interference. I mean, Test ran in, and Albert ran in, and also he used a giant cinder block, and it was average, but only because we knew what was round the corner. This was, of course, another SummerSlam when Shane McMahon did indeed get into it with Steve Blackman for the hardcore title, and my word, how could anyone do anything but look at this and give it an up? Because Shane McMahon thought he'd try and kill himself. Up. You don't even need to know or even watch 3/4 of this match, you just need to get to the finish, because Shane, terrified of Blackman, to be fair, Blackman was a crazy dude, he was a crazy ass, oh my gosh, what's he gonna do? He climbed up the Titantron, and it does actually look like it's 50 foot in the air. Blackman follows, hits him with a kendo stick, and Shane McMahon falls the entire way down and lands on the floor. I mean, there was a setup clearly designed to protect Shane as much as possible, but still, he had to do it. And if someone said to me, Simon, do you want to do that? I'd have to think about it long and hard, because you've got to have balls of steel. It's unreal. It still makes for an incredible highlight in 2018. And if you've never seen it, go and see it. I've just given you the opportunity to do just that. Look at my face go weird. Which brings us to that period we all get sad about, because what a waste of time and effort this really was. After Shane's tumble, he did go away again before coming back to buy WCW and leading the alliance against the WWE. And not only is it a down, it's a brown down. That's not to say there weren't awesome moments within this, because there absolutely were. For example, Shane turning up on the Nitro Raw simulcast and buying WCW right from under Vince McMahon's nose, but after that, it nosedived quicker than a Zack Ryder push. If you want the short version, WWE botched the whole thing because they didn't get in any of WCW's biggest stars, and then the people they did get, they were booked. It wasn't even an invasion. There was no competition. It was just one big billboard that says, look, WWE is better than WCW. If you don't think that, go and watch all the matches we've just put together. That's right, Team WWE runs riot. WCW looks like a waste of time. And if someone looks like a waste of time, how can I care about the feud? They never had anything. It was less an invasion and more like a bunch of cows lining up to be shot in their head before their meat was processed and sent over to catering. The fact this didn't even last a year when it could have lasted around 2 sums the whole thing up. And yes, I am still mad about it. I wanted this since I was a child. However, there were flickers of excellence throughout this, and it would be silly to ignore them. I mean, for one, Shane McMahon clashed with the Big Show once more, and this time he climbed up the Titantron again and dropped an elbow all the way up there, down onto the giant man, which was just crazy. And he had that program with Kurt Angle. You can't look at these two things and not be happy. Up. There was actually quite a lot of power here too, because not only did it prove that Kurt Angle could work with anybody, but it also shone a giant light on Shane. All of this led to the King of the Ring 2001, and interestingly takes this idea of wrestlers having to continually raise the bar and throws it out the window, because I mean, I get it too. If on a Monday you hit somebody with 1 chair, on a Tuesday you have to hit somebody with 2 because the fans' expectations rise. However, when Kurt Angle took Shane McMahon and actually tried to lob him through real glass, well, I haven't really seen anything like that since, so it still is it's perplexing. I can't believe it happened. And you didn't mishear that either. Something had gone awry with the glass they put in place. Kurt Angle and Shane didn't know, so they tried to lob each other through it. And when Kurt Angle tried once and it didn't work, he tried again. Then when he did that, it didn't work, he tried again. And each time, McMahon Jr. kept landing on his damn head. So really it should be a down, but I can't do it simply for the pure effort these two men put in. And also, there is some really good stuff here. We saw Shane McMahon pull out a shooting star press from nowhere, and the match itself ended when Kurt Angle did an angle slam from the top rope. Carnage this, pure and utter carnage. Shane would come and go from TV after the alliance was nixed, and he had random feuds with the like of Eric Bischoff. Then there was all that stuff with D-Generation X and the Spirit Squad, and that gets his own down because I never thought that was that entertaining. Everything with Bobby Lashley, Vince McMahon and the ECW title, and of course, he had that little program with Kane. The reason I end with this because if you don't know, during this, Kane took Shane McMahon, he held him down, and he tried to electrocute his testicles. And once again, you heard me 100%, he wanted to blow up McMahon's little grapefruits. I mean, how can we not give that an up? It's so ridiculous, it's so stupid, you don't ever see it in wrestling. Well, it's actually bad, and probably chase some people away, which I understand, it gets it up. It's back to the downs though, because really everything that followed this was very forgettable until Shane just vanished from the face of the planet in around about 2009. There was some stuff with Randy Orton and the Legacy, but it was kind of just there, was nothing to write home about. I mean, what would you even say? Dear Mum, Shane is involved in a bunch of boring feuds, I don't like it, I'm gonna give it a down. Your mum would write back and she'd be like, what the hell is a down? What are you doing with your life? Absence does make the heart grow fonder though, because 7 years after he had left, Shane surprised us all by returning to a Raw in February 2016. It's not just an up, it's a golden up. Also, a quick side note, I accidentally predicted this. I was on a podcast the week before and as a joke said, I bet Shane McMahon comes out to confront Vince and to confront Stephanie. And it happened. I still have the audio to prove it, and it turned me into prediction man extraordinaire. It was great though because no one saw it coming and the reaction he got was absolutely huge. It was like a triumphant war hero finally coming home. And I know there was a lot of ludicrous stuff within this too. We had the lockbox. Remember the lockbox? No one ever found out what was in that. We took that once again, throw that in the toilet. And even though he fought The Undertaker in Hell in a Cell and lost at WrestleMania, he still got to control Raw. And that was the stipulation. If you win, you can be in control. And if you lose, you can't. But it's WWE, so he lost then, he still got all the power. He of course went on to lead SmackDown when the new brand split came into effect. And I think by and large since then, he's been doing all right. And he's had feuds with, who's had feuds with? AJ Styles, Kevin Owens, Sami Zayn. And all the seemingly countless Survivor Series contests he's in, they've all been fine. I've enjoyed them to a certain extent. I certainly don't feel offended by any of them. I'm sure his wife would prefer he stop jumping off tall structures, but this is Shane McMahon. I bet he at least does it once more. The latest controversy is, of course, that he is officially the best in the world. And while I'd love to give that an up, because it still makes me laugh, I started thinking about it the other day and just cracked up. We have to give it a down because we gave it a down on the Crown Jewel show. There was ups and downs, and I take my ups and downs very seriously. I'm not going to start changing them around. If you get an up once and we then come back to revisit it, you'll get an up again and vice versa. So yeah, down. I imagine he'll continue to fly in and fly out for the considerable future too. I mean, he's at least going to have a WrestleMania match for the next 1, 2, potentially 5 years. Whether that's good or not is all down to you, but as we do look back over Shane McMahon's career, I actually think he did all right. And on top of that, I like him. I like him as a performer, and I like him as a character. And I'm sure if he ever hears that, he'll be really pleased that some bald dude on the internet gives him the double thumbs. But well done, Shane. You absolutely smashed it. Now, don't forget to leave a comment below and let us know what you think about Shane McMahon's career, especially that he is now best in the world. Like, share, and subscribe. Head over to WhatCulture.com and read yourself some articles. Follow WhatCulture on Twitter at WhatCulture WWE. My name is Simon from WhatCulture. Thanks for watching Ups and Downs. And there's other ones of these too. You've got Kane Ups and Downs, you've got Undertaker Ups and Downs, more are coming. Keep an eye out. Make sure you share them with the friends, because that's what we do when we're in love. That's right, we're in love. Deal with it. I'll see you soon. Come on.